Welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modies. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Thank you so much for tuning in, and now it's time to kick back and relax with me in the Keys. Welcome to Catch Outdoors. This week's episode is number 183. Catch Outdoors is brought to you by Spotify and lots of other streaming podcast sites. This week's title is Back to the Backcountry. Yay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. First, this will probably be a short one. I just got my voice back. Barely. From a bad cold. More about that in a minute or two, but it happened. Somebody brought it. Janelle, I'm not going to blame it on Janelle, even though she did travel. I think it was a group of people I was in at a party, but anyway. Let's see here. I'm going to start with an update about the recent brush fires that we had down here, just south of Homestead, yet north of the Florida Keys, kind of in no man's land along the 18-mile stretch. Fire is officially out now, but some staff is still on site, keeping an eye on the thing. I drove through it on the way to Homestead yesterday to drop off some storage stuff, and wow, that was a big fire. 26,000 acres plus, I think, and very noticeable on both sides of the road. There has been some positive notes about that. The researchers, scientists, and whatnot, especially the outdoorsy guys and gals, all seem to think that, burns are good, and they are. Generally, remember, we do control burns all over Florida to control the invasive type plants that get on top of the other plants to give them a chance to grow back. And also, they've learned that plants come back much stronger after the fires, which are very natural way back before we got here. So they are looking at it as a positive standpoint. We didn't lose any lives. Excuse me, there I go. And we didn't lose any buildings. We lost some wires, communication towers, things that are put out there all by their lonesome, which you think wouldn't be affected, of course, were. But everything's back up and running, so we're doing pretty good. And as I said, they're keeping an eye on things. We really had a very nice rain event Tuesday. Almost 2 inches of rain fell in the fire area, as well as all the way down here to Key Largo. Nowhere near as much to the south of us, but a whole bunch up north too. So it was really great. And it was more of a soaking kind of rain. It wasn't like just a dump and run. It rained for quite a while, a couple of hours on us, very steady. And that's what we really needed, was what I like to call a soaking rain. I put this report back out again, even though it's completely over, because many folks up north have been sending notes through Facebook and whatnot, the ones that Janelle sees because she works one of those sites, or a couple sites, asking, is a fire out? And it's funny because that has always happened. The news people will roll in, go crazy, things get better, and they leave, and then they don't follow up. And I know this from experience with hurricanes. We have a big hurricane and everybody's here and they're, oh my gosh, and the guys are standing on the beach getting blown away and all that stuff, and umbrellas turned inside out, and so wonder they don't get killed, quite frankly, and then it's all over and that's it. It happened in North Carolina, it's happened in Hawaii. They just kind of disappear, and then it's up to you to figure it out. And we have a lot of travel people that come down to the Keys, and guess what? The 2 roads that were closed are virtually the same, if you really want to look at it that way. I mean, you can see one from the other. And there was no getting here at all. Off and on for 3 days. 4-hour closures, 3-hour closures, open it back up long enough to get the traffic moving, which was, no way. Anyway, so it's done. So just want to put that out there so you all know. You come on down. Let's see. Weather's been really nice. I mean, really nice. Cool evenings in the high 60s, days around 75. You just can't beat it. Bring your shorts, bring your t-shirts, bring your flip-flops. You're good to go. A light jacket if you're a complete wuss like I am, and the night gets a little too cool. You might want an overshirt, but reality is we are having a really lovely spring. We just cannot complain about it. So, Spring break is seriously slowing down, as well as visiting tourists. The fire, of course, didn't help the local economy all that much, but things are back up and back on the mend. And what I mean by that, the fire, when it was raging, no one could get here. So it really killed a lot of spring break happenings and spring break places. People these obviously plan on this money, and it ain't here. So come on down and spend a little. It would be nice, and spend it locally. Don't go to the big box store. Come down here and visit the gift shops and things like that, and the restaurants, and have a good time. Great place to take a break. Let's see what else. I'll mention this. I am just now getting over a crazy cold that is finally slowing down. No fever. Just a cold. I mean, coughing, not much sniffling, but coughing and congestion. It was terrible. I am so sick of, daycare and what do you call it, NyQuil. Blah, bah humbug. So anyway, it's getting better now. I've still got the coughing spasms, which take off with no warning, but don't worry, I have a pause button I can hit when that happens. So, and again, no fever, which is great. And tested for COVID, no COVID. So my voice is back somewhat. Pretty much disappeared completely on Monday. I think Janelle's disappeared completely on Tuesday. And then she had to go to Tallahassee. I asked her how she's doing. She goes, trying not to talk. But that's what you do when you go to Tallahassee. So whatever. And yes, I did go fishing this morning, but before I get to that, I want to talk about a couple of fun events that I was able to attend on Sunday. Billy Davidson celebrated 35 years of playing at the Lorelei Bar and Grill down in Alamorada. Amazing. What a fun night of reminiscing, singing along. Billy invited many, many artists that play here in the Keys. Music is great, and so is the food, and so is the drink, and so is Cindy brought a 35 anniversary cake that everyone could share. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Cindy. It was pretty crazy. I also find it pretty crazy that Janelle and I started listening to him and Paul Case in 1995. That's when we had the boat down here. And that was only 5 years after Case and Davidson began playing down this way. I have been a long-time fan of Billy Davidson. Paul Case passed away almost 2 years ago now. It does make me feel a tad old, but happy that we could be a part of it, and happy that Billy is the guy that happens to be producing my music. I find that really wild that we've come full circle, or I've come full circle. I mentioned Janelle had to make another business trip to Tallahassee on Tuesday, so I went to the garden party by Malonesome. Man, did she ever miss a good one. If you get a chance, Billy and Cindy D's garden parties are posted each week on YouTube. You can go back and watch any of them over the last 4 years. Pick the artist you like and watch them. We are so lucky to have so many talented musicians down here on this string of islands. And also, Billy invites many of his old artist friends from up north, out of upstate New York and Minnesota, Wisconsin, places like that. They love, of course, Billy puts them up at the house for a week, gets them to come down, and then they play for us. And it's a wonderful mix of music. It's probably the coolest thing that we do down here, is to be able to get away for one night each week for a couple of hours and listen to some really, really good music in a garden setting. By the way, there will be no garden party on April the 1st. There was a scheduling faux pas. So the next one will be on April the 8th. So just so you know. Let's see. I mentioned this last week. There is a free freshwater fishing weekend on April the 5th and 6th. That's this coming, right? Yeah. Well, no, not this coming, but the next one. April 5th and 6th. Yeah, I know that doesn't really apply to those of us in the Keys, but it does for folks that are just a bit north of us. They fish a lot of canals and the ponds and the lakes and stuff around Homestead. They all go after peacock bass. That's very, very popular throughout Dade County. So you don't need a fishing license. So get out there, enjoy it. How are your NCAA college basketball brackets coming along? I'm doing okay. I had a few bumps, as most folks did, with some teams that shouldn't have lost, but that's the way the college games go. That little pop you just heard is my barometer. if you heard a crack sound, plastic bottles, the Zephyr Hills bottles, as I drink out of them, I gently squeeze them, I guess, and I put the top back on. And when the barometric pressure changes, they pop, they expand. And so, yeah, we have high pressure coming in. It's a hoot. I can put those out and know what the weather's going to do just by the sound of the bottle. So, new trick you should try. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I had a few hiccups in the old bracket, but all in all, like my main team, the team that I'm hoping will win, is still there, and the points that I've earned so far have been quite high. So, doing okay. I've got some long shots, and of course, I got the usual misses that everybody got. Some real surprises of some of the top teams getting nailed over the past week. But anyway, so let's see. That whole thing starts. When does that start back up? Let's see. Where's my notes? Here it is. It begins this weekend. All weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And the boxing and packing for the big move on the first continues. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Panic hasn't set in yet. My good friend Gary is on his way down to help us out. Yay. It's always good to have another hand. My brother's coming by to pick up some furniture. I think he said Friday, I think is what he said, or maybe it might be Thursday. Might be tomorrow. I don't know. I'll have to look at the calendar. It's getting too full and too ridiculous, but we are getting somewhere. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Fishing. Yes, I actually got out on the water this morning. Wednesday, had a great morning. I laid in bed, still feeling somewhat under the weather, but not totally. And I thought the best thing I can do is get out and go fishing. And that's exactly what I did. I got up, pulled myself together, had a cup of coffee, thought 2 or 3 times about not bothering, and then I looked around the house at what needs to be done, and I'm like, no, I'm going fishing. If only for a few hours. I mean, really and truly, I set a time for me. What I wanted to do was just make sure I was back early enough to keep doing some stuff. I had to record this podcast for one thing. So I only fished till 10. I got out around 7 this morning. It was still just barely light, and fished till 10 o'clock, and it was fantastic. I had an absolutely wonderful day. The winds were down, scheduled to come up this afternoon, and they did. My ride back across the bay at 10 a.m. was already getting bumpy, and small craft advisory should be issued this evening. So I managed to wiggle in between this never-ending wind that we've been having. Let's see. I went all the way into the backcountry, as far back as I could go, knowing that the wind was going to come up. I thought, well, I will at least enjoy all of it until I have to go home, and then it'll be a little bumpy. But the fish were biting no matter where I was, quite frankly. We had a lot of rain yesterday. I mentioned that earlier, a couple inches of rain, and I think that really flipped the switch up there in the Everglades. It really got the fish going. We haven't had any appreciable rain in months. And so that really made a huge difference. Plenty of wind, no rain. Go figure. The weirdest catch of the day, I got a mullet on an artificial. Those of you that know how crazy this is right now, looking at, your eyes wide going, really? Yes, really, I did. And I had another one attack the side of it and get nicked. And he popped off. I was just like, these guys must be starving. Like I said, the feed was on. But that was the first mullet I've caught up there. Little guy, nothing major. I kind of wish I hung on to him, because later on I saw a couple tarpon go by. I would have loved to throw a mullet at him, but of course I let the little booger go. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, that's right, a mullet. Now, let me explain something about mullet. Mullet do not eat bait. Mullet do not eat bait or artificials. I have caught them on artificials of dark color. This was not dark. This was a bright green head and my usual stuff, the pink shine. So I don't know what prompted him, but normally they'll hit, like if you have a dark olive green jig with a little bit of shrimp on it maybe, or the same thing like in dark brown, and dark brown shovelhead jigs with the dark brown fur on the back. You're working redfish on the bottom kind of thing. They'll pick those up. I've caught them on that up in Pine Island Sound, but never down here. So that was really, really wild. Also, unusual fish. I got a lizardfish. Haven't seen one of those back there. Got several nice snook. Really nice sea trout. Mangrove snapper. Barracuda. It was a crazy day. I think I lost more fish at the boat than I got in the boat. They just kept coming and butting. Like where I was looking at my jig going, no, it's plenty sharp. There was a lot of misses too. They were really hungry. They were swiping at the bait. They weren't like pecking or just sort of taking. I mean, especially the jacks, when they showed up, they were just nailing it and taking off screaming across the flat, which I love. But I had one trout on that was easily over 20 inches. I lost it right at the boat, but that's okay. I got a good look at it. I did keep one. I kept a nice 17-inch. I figured Janelle's going to want a fresh fish dinner when she gets back from doing all of her travel. So I saved a trout, and I got a couple really nice mangrove snapper, and I put those in the box too. So I'm going to make her up a dinner tomorrow night when she gets home with some fresh fish on the grill. I know that'll make her happy. And as I've said before, I don't normally keep fish, but I thought, she could probably use a pick-me-up after all the travel and stuff she's done. There's nothing more fun than traveling in and out of Miami to go to Tallahassee back and forth. Yippee-ki-yay. Glad it's not me. I really feel sorry for her. I really, really do. Let's see. The jacks were in the 3-pound range. I don't know how many I caught, but it was quite a few. And all the trout were legal. I didn't measure the snook. I just let them go. Let's see what else was going on. Give you some details here. I use soft plastics, all soft plastics. The Pink Shine, Gulp Pink Shine, the swimming mullet, that worked the best, and it has for a year. So I'm having a hard time with attachment. A close second was the new penny gulp shrimp. I used to use the new penny gulp shrimp up in Pine Island Sound and Estero Bay a lot. It doesn't look anything like a shrimp. I don't know, it looks more like a grub, or I don't know, it just doesn't look very shrimpy, but boy, the fish love it. And the new penny is this funny brown penny kind of, it's not shiny. Not sure where new penny comes from. It's more of just a penny, but it's very effective. And I was dragging that across the bottom. There's an area back there that's very sandy and light mud. And so I was dragging it across that. And while I was doing that, I'm drifting. I was running the trolling motor because I'd gotten in a place where I was out of wind. Then I would shut the trolling motor off and just let the boat drift. And I came up on a log, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember that log being there. Well, of course you don't. It was a croc. And it was about, oh gosh, he was 8 or 9 feet long. He was, big enough to think he was a log. When I got close, he had nestled down into the mud, so I could just barely see his feet, and of course his nose. That's the most prominent thing, and he's got to take a breath every now and then. But he was on the bottom in about 1.5 feet of water. I was going to go and take a picture, and I just thought, I've got a couple of good pictures of him, and I didn't want to hassle him. Honestly, I'm not really afraid of him, because they're afraid of us, but he's nestled in there to catch something swimming by. I just soon it not be me. No, I'm just kidding. I just didn't want to disturb him, but it was pretty awesome. That every time I go into that area, I see a crocodile. Every single trip, which is really pretty cool that they've made the comeback that they've made, because Janelle and I could have gone back there in the 90s, and on 8, 9, 10 trips, we were lucky to see one. So it's really, truly amazing what the conservation has done for the species. Let's see. What else? Moon was waxing crescent, which means it's coming off a new moon. And just a sliver. Water temp was 76, slight breeze out of the north after the passing front from last night. The tide was very low. Wind picked up just as I was headed home, but not too bad of a ride back. Bite stayed steady up until about 10 a.m., and then it completely shut down. So in my mind, time to go home and get back to the task at hand. Just a quick note, April's upon us. Fishing will get better and better. If you're hoping to get a tarpon or two, now's the time. You should start thinking about setting up a trip with one of our many, many guides down here who are very, very good at tarpon fishing. I've personally found that the best bite is in late April, the whole month of May, and early June, if it doesn't get too hot too fast. And there are plenty of great guides. You want names or numbers or whatever, feel free to contact me via email. I'll be happy to share that information with you. And now it's time once again for a little bit of useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
All right, here we go again. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and James Monroe all died on July 4th. Jefferson and Adams died at practically the same minute of the same day. Wow. John Quincy Adams owned a pet alligator, which he kept in the East Room of the White House. Andrew Jackson was the only president to believe that the world is flat. And last but not least, the longest inaugural address by a U.S. president was given by William Henry Harrison. It was 1 hour, 45 minutes long during an intense snowstorm. 1 month later, he died of pneumonia. Oh boy. And there you have it. Before I go, here's some final words. I'm going to repeat what I said last week. Just a heads up, there is a good possibility there will be no podcast on Thursday, April 3rd. The first or second one's going to be pretty nuts with moving, and there's lots of loose ends still to be tied up. I'm not even sure I'll have access to the web, actually, until the first week of April, so no worries. I'll catch you up on the following week if necessary, but I'll still try to get it done on time if possible. Haven't missed one yet. This might just be a first. If I do manage to publish one on the 3rd of April, it'll be heavily music-oriented. This was requested by quite a few listeners who like the information about who's playing where when, especially at the beginning of the month, and here in the Keys as well as specifically Key West. So I will get that done for next week, I hope. If not, it'll be the week after. So wish us luck. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please subscribe to the podcast channel, tell a friend. Facebook page, Sketchy Outdoors. Website is sketchyoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and news about my books and my music. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.